Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Average Bros Gym podcast, where your average hosts with eerily similar names, Corey and Croy, walk you through fitness, health, and life advice which seeks to meet you where you're at. No polarizing black and white takes, no threatening you and telling you the only way to do things, just genuine advice and good conversation. Such nice voices, Corey. I'm going to move this out of my face a little bit here, so I'm going to be turning this direction and facing you this way.
Yes. To the left.
To the left.
Like an iconic Ben Stiller movie.
Is that... Oh,
Blue
Zoolander.
Seal.
Zoolander, that's what it is.
Yeah. Some classic Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson.
I decided to go with this mic today over the microphone mic. I was like, I don't know, maybe just like mess with this, see how it works.
Yeah.
So this is going to be good or not.
Get your hands free.
Yeah, you know, hands-free devices. I could even do like one of these things and then do this.
So many maneuvers.
Oh, yeah. Well, that way people can see my face. You know what I mean? Because we got to be able to have our faces be seen.
Fair. So you're saying like if I went
just
whoa.
Oh my gosh, how did you do that?
Inverted.
Inverted. God. You might have to have it directed towards your face a little bit more, though.
Okay, inverted and pointed.
Turn towards
directly to my face.
You can turn it that way normally.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. Just firm enough.
Yeah.
Just firm enough.
Well, Corey, okay, you just got back from you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, 17-mile trail run?
Yes. Well, one clarification.
Yeah.
Not necessarily trail run. We weren't out on our single track mountain bike trails. Today was just around two lakes. I can't remember the names of them right here in Eden Prairie. But yeah, in total, it was Bryant Lake. No. It wasn't Bryant.
One of them.
One of it was like maybe like Snelling or something like that. I could be completely misspoken here, but no, more just like bike path, paved trail, just around like two lakes. Was able to get Stevie out on a little part of it too for a nice little 2 miles. So we were able to go. Our plan initially was to wrap around the lake, which we accounted for it to be right around like 3 miles. So we're like, our initial plan was go 2 laps, then pop back to her place, refuel, rehydrate, all those things, and then go back out again. But on the second time out, then we saw that there was a path that connected our lake to another lake. And we're like, well, fuck it. Let's just go out that way. And then that's also when it turned into going more from 12 to 15, I think we had anticipated, to the end. All right, yeah, now let's crank it up to 17.
My goodness gracious.
So, yeah, body's feeling it a little bit, to be honest. Like,
I'm a little bit tired now.
A little bit tired, but it's that like, ooh, you earned it a little bit, you know?
I did yesterday, not that far, but I did do a couple. I think it was like Richard T. Anderson Conservation Area. I don't know this place. Yeah. It's really actually very pretty at the top. It's along these bluffs. It's between Eden Prairie and Shakopee. And you get to the top of this bluff and you can kind of look out over Grass Lake and Rice Lake. Beyond those lakes, you're looking south is towards the Minnesota River. And then you see Valley Fair at the very over that too.
Yeah.
Which like parts of it are still flooded, I think, from the recent rain that we've had in Minnesota.
Been nuts. Somebody was telling me that it's been raining. I think this was since the beginning of June, 2 out of every 3 days.
Really?
It's like,
I believe it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like crazy.
Yeah.
And therefore the bugs are crazy too.
Yeah. Mosquitoes.
I got bit up. My arm's already itching right now. But yeah, so I was like, part of it was a trail run and walk. So Corey and I are doing, if you're new to the channel, or if you're I don't know, just haven't listened to our back catalog, I guess. Corey and I are doing a 50K trail run in October. That was about 31 miles ish. And Corey is training for it. I am not.
Well,
I mean,
you are too.
Yeah, I've ran up to 4 miles total. No, not total, but like at one time.
Okay.
With Meg. We ran around Lake of the Isles last weekend. So I've done that. I've done 4 miles once. Yesterday was kind of like a hike / jog, but the bugs were so bad that I had to spend a lot of time in the interior of the park, like running away from the bugs.
Yeah.
So that was most of my running was, it kind of felt like, like in the Fellowship of the Ring, when you've got like the Uruk-hai swarming the forest, going towards the band, right?
Yes.
And that was like, those were all just mosquitoes coming for me as I was running along the forest. So it was nice though. You get to the bluffs and you can kind of take a look, and it's a really beautiful view. I'll post it on the Instagram as well as like a reel about it. But yeah, I was only out there for like a fucking hour. I was like, I can't stand any more of that. So,
Yeah.
so then I went to the driving range and hit some balls. So
Hey, there we go. There we
it's
go.
still outdoors, still movement, but
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't. Didn't want to be in the forest for too long. It was just too buggy. So
We've had a couple of those runs where you're out there, and then the mosquitoes being so bad, you're like, I literally cannot physically stand still because you feel as though the moment you stop moving, you're gonna have 5 to 6 of them on you
yeah,
in a matter of seconds. You're like, nope, okay, let's just keep moving, no matter how bad it hurts.
the buzzing in the
Just
ears
a,
too.
oh,
Oh
so
my god.
annoying. Mm-hmm.
I should have known it was going to be a trying time because I didn't take more than about 4 or 5 steps on the trail before I just got pooped on by a bird.
Ooh,
I've never had that
what?
happen. I don't think I've ever had that happen to
No,
me as in my memory, which is hazy. But like
same. I know.
I feel like it's never happened to me before.
Never pooped on a or no, never
I've
got
never.
pooped on by a bird.
I've also never
Have you
pooped on a
never pooped
bird.
on a bird?
No,
You should try it.
I should stop. We're all the cool kids are doing. No, it was like it was like right in my arm, like just
Mm,
literally, and I just had to take the water from my little like pack and spray on my arm and just like try to wipe it off like leaves. I had nothing else. I was like, I'm not gonna use
mm,
my shirt,
yeah.
I'm not gonna use my pants or whatever. I was like, I'm just gonna take these leaves in the
Right.
ground, and I mean, to my knowledge, it wasn't poison ivy, so I was all right with that.
You're
But
like, ooh, that's just kind of gross. At least it was in a spot that you could reach. Could you imagine that just running down your back?
mm, I don't want to
You know
imagine
what
that.
I mean?
I was hoping it was like an
Right
eagle.
down your neck.
I was hoping it was like I know. Thankfully, it wasn't like my yeah exactly. I was hoping that it was like an eagle or something that I was like
Uh,
blessed by the chosen ones. But
okay. I mean that I feel would matter. If I got shit on by a bald eagle, I'd be like,
cool.
way better than a fucking swan or something in my mind.
I'd be like,
Or a
oh man,
goose.
that's
Oh,
awesome. Oh,
a
the
duck.
goose would be bad. I don't think it was.
Yeah.
To be honest, it was like AI, but it was probably not an eagle. But
I mean,
anyways, beside the point.
all of them suck, but
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the story is cooler if it was a bald eagle or like a cool great horned owl.
hmm
If you got just shit on by some ordinary crow.
What in your mind,
Oh,
Corey? Apart from him, you can say eagle, but I want you thinking of other things. What
hmm.
is the coolest bird in your
Golden
opinion? In
eagle.
your opinion,
Golden eagle.
golden eagle,
Golden
not a
eagle.
bald eagle, a
Not a
golden
bald
eagle.
eagle, but
Okay.
a golden eagle. I'm pretty sure they're the second fastest flyers in the world.
Pop quiz. What's
I'm
the
pretty
first
sure. I
one?
think it's peregrine falcon.
You're right. You're
Yeah.
damn right. You are
Mm-hmm.
peregrine falcon. Those things are nuts. 200
Yep.
miles an hour, up to I think
I,
on the dive.
yep. And then I think a golden eagle, which is like much larger, and I also believe that the other fact that I like about it is that the golden eagle are the highest like soars, like where they're flying in sky in terms of elevation is the highest among any other bird species. So there's nothing that flies higher than a golden eagle, which I also find is pretty cool. Then you're also the second fastest bird free falling out, and you're also way bigger than a falcon.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm going golden
Cool.
eagle.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I like that. I like that golden eagle for Corey.
Mm-hmm.
Man. I did. I remember doing a science fair project, quote unquote. This is when I was very
Quote
young,
unquote. Yeah.
so it wasn't really science. It was just kind of researching birds. Which, fun fact, I think ornithologist is the term for someone who researches birds.
Really.
Someone who shout out all ornithologists in the chat right now who are hanging out with us. I like a good old fashioned. I'm a peregrine falcon, really, really cool. And we've talked about this on another episode at one point. There's a lot of like these red tail or Cooper hawks, I believe. I don't know which if it's red tail or Cooper or if the same thing. I could be wrong, but a lot of them are kind of like I don't know. They've been kind of urbanized. Like a lot of them are over these like when you're driving on the highway, you see a lot of them on light posts
Yes.
or on hanging out. Those are really cool. It's really fun to kind of watch them guys kind of glide looking for things to eat. I'm a big fan of like you said, of owls. I have not seen an owl in person. I do not believe.
Mm.
Mostly they're out,
Ever?
yeah,
Ever.
they're out at night, man. Well, I mean, maybe
Mm.
like a zoo, but
Mm.
not in the wild. Versus, I've seen bald eagles, seen all other stuff out in person.
Yeah.
But yeah, haven't seen what did I just say?
Owl.
Yeah, I haven't seen an owl in person. I don't think. I was thinking of like blue jays. I have a blue jay
Oh,
tattoo
yeah.
on my arm, but that's for like my dad got attacked by a blue jay one time. So that was a story he always tells. So that's why I got that tattooed there. But
Attacked by a blue jay.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. getting
That's
attacked
a
by a
story,
bird
at
would
least.
be pretty. That's the story. Who knows if it's true? Have we verified this? Um, yeah, no, that'd be kind of scary though. Or I've only feel I've been quote unquote attacked by a bird when running around the lakes, and there's some sort of like, is it an oriole maybe? If it's like the black and orange one, I don't know. There's just like this one bird I remember around Winona running around, and then I just felt something kind of scrape and grab my head. And it was a bird coming down to
Mm,
protect its nest or
yeah,
whatnot. But
sure.
I mean, other than that, if you'd even call that an attack, they're more or less just like, hey, get the fuck out of here,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Hey, you. Hey.
Yeah. But if it was an eagle, that shit could claw you up real bad.
Oh yeah. Oh my
Like the
god.
talons on those things, or like when they wrap around, like that's looking at some like dinosaur
Yeah,
feet.
those things are massive.
Massive,
Yeah, yeah.
terrifying, like steak knives.
I have some buddies, Tevin and Jeff. Uh, they went hawking. No. What is like the term for when you have like hawks and they're like trying to flush out like rabbits and stuff like I don't
And
know.
you're saying you got it on your arm?
Yeah. They've gone birding.
Is that it?
Hawking.
You might be right on hawking.
Hawkeyeing.
I would put my money on hawking versus birding.
Hawk birding.
Hawk birding.
Hawk. I don't know.
That's got to be an interesting relationship with a bird. I feel like that's I don't know.
Yeah.
Not as good as a dog.
Well, no, but
still cool though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Speaking of dogs, we've got Murph at our feet right now. I did bring him his bone. So we could have something to chew on to hang out in here. Otherwise, he's kind of, he like lays down,
it's
but
like
I don't want to be too bored
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So if you hear maybe find it soothing.
If you hear any sort of chewing in the background, it is not Corey gnawing on a bone, nor is it myself. It's actually Murph. So
I've wondered every now and again if it could be my jaw.
That noise was Corey's jaw. It sounded like something knocking against the door, but it wasn't. Nuts? Yeah.
People point it out to me all the time, and I've had it for so long, like TMJ, I think is what a lot of people will refer to it as.
Let's do another round of that. I'll stop talking. Hold on.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? I think I think you can hear
it. Yeah. Bird call,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
okay. That's Corey's bird call.
Yeah, that's pretty loud. I mean, but it's like loud, you know? I mean, and I always get it pointed out to me anytime I'm eating naturally.
Sure.
And people are like, oh my God. Like they look over like very concerned, like especially if they're meeting me for the first time, they're like, is that your jaw?
Is that normal?
It's like, are you okay? That sounds incredibly painful.
Yeah. He's like a snake. He can unhinge his jaw. And
that's just nuts.
Okay. We've gone over your favorite bird. Or the coolest bird. At some point, we might talk about fitness. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe. But, no, we talked about running.
We talked about running earlier.
You know, how great it is for just like your aerobic capacity and mental clarity. And,
And what I liked about trail running was that, what I don't like about trail running is it's like an ankle sprain waiting to happen. You have to be very careful. But what I do like about it is there is a lot of kind of like consistent change in elevation, which makes maintaining a pace very challenging. But I also I like that because it's less monotonous than like a standard running. Now, if you're like a running purist and like you kind of like looking at your paces, looking at your times, things like that too, like, and you want less risk of injury, I guess I would maybe or maybe like look for like a flat trail. There's plenty of paved trails out there.
Yeah. Like if you're just starting running, I don't know if I would necessarily recommend that you go immediately to trails. It depends. I mean, like obviously, like the pavement's going to be a little bit maybe harder when you land on it for your ankles, your knees, your hips versus like more of the softer dirt that you might be running on. But like you said, when you have to like pronate and supinate your ankles, so like rolling in and rolling out to the inside or outside of your foot, like you got to build up your ankle stability and strength along with your feet, and then again that just goes right up and down the chain to your knees and your knees and your hips. But yeah, I think I would want to progress someone on generally more just flat road. If you got a track or a gym, like that would just be an easy spot to start. Treadmill, sure.
Then hike on the trails, and then always add that in if you want to. Because even I'm more of a hiker. I'm not going to
that's great
continue doing a ton of trail running, but it's just
elevation that we're going to have to work for too.
I've been told. I was told that it's actually like a X thousand feet like elevation. I'm like, yeah, well, fuck, whatever.
Michaela just went to
I'm gonna fucking do it anyway. Like
Michaela just went to a trail running club, completely different running club. Check out our episode on running clubs. Just last episode.
This is not a running club
podcast. This is not a running club podcast, but she checked out, this one was for trail specifically. And there's a girl that she met who was doing like UTMB. It's like a big trail race that's
Utah Mount Bunyan.
It might,
I don't know.
It might be somewhere that I might be pronouncing it right.
Moab. It might be like UTMB. It
UTMB
sounds
or
like
something like
Moab. Like you. Yeah.
it's a big trail race
Yeah.
that's coming
Okay.
up or whatever. And anyway, she qualified to get in, and I'm assuming this would be like the equivalent, like the Boston Marathon for
Oh, for trail runners.
yeah, for trail
My
runners.
my brother did this. I don't have him. We should probably call
Yeah.
him at some point. Have him on.
But yeah, so you met her there
Yeah.
on Tuesday, and she had said one of the trail runs that Michaela and I did. She was like, "Yeah, I remember doing that. It took me about like maybe 3.5, some odd hours." And then she did another trail like equivalent up in Duluth, and it took her like 7, just due to like the elevation. So that's going to be a big change of pace. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, do you have expectations for what you and Michaela, or maybe you want to do for this 31 miler here?
I at this point I'm less concerned with knowing I'm going to finish the 50K. Like I know I'm going to finish it as long as I stay healthy and, knock on wood, all those good things.
Mm,
But I'm more concerned about like the second day and how my body's going to respond after having done 50K to then run another 12 miles on that Sunday. That's the part that I'm a little bit more nervous about, oddly enough.
sure.
I think in terms of expectations, I do want to, I don't know, perform at least to like the best of my ability and
Hmm.
be prepared and trained for it accordingly. But other than that, I mean, who knows once you get up past mile 20 where your body's going to be at and how you're feeling. Since this is my very first one, like or our first one, uh, ultra distance anyway, and especially on trail, I'm just going to be stoked to finish it.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
so we'll see. But
Okay. Cool.
what about you?
Dude, I don't even. I mean, here's the thing. I've been going to this like,
Because we're like 3 months out.
yeah,
I mean, and this is a
yeah.
significant, yeah. Like, how you feeling, dude?
What happens happens. Fuck, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, the thing is like, I've always been going into it, I was thinking like, man, Corey convinced me to do something like this. But it wasn't like, I don't know, because before you tried to like get me to like go skydiving with you, and we've talked about that. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
fuck that shit. This is something that like I already enjoy doing.
Mm,
Hiking, that is, like being in
yeah.
nature, getting out, like just kind of getting, getting the noise of the typical urban environment like out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And just being able to like be in nature and embrace that and enjoy it. And also, it's going to be in the fall. And typically, I enjoy fall hiking much more than summer because of the aforementioned swarm of insects in the
Yeah.
summertime. That is what it is. I mean, like, yeah, the weather's nicer, but I like tanning in the summer. You don't really tan when you're hiking; you're in the woods. Um, but like, so I really I like the time frame of it. I love Duluth area. Jay Cook State Park is beautiful. And we're going even further north, which is like, more of the pines, more of like the rocks, like the
Yep.
elevation, like more of that, like, Minnesota doesn't really have mountains,
Mm-hmm.
but what are Minnesota mountains? Like, you're going to be going up that area. I love the area. Love Lake Superior. So I'm excited for the experience of it. I don't know if I'm going to finish. I think like,
I think you will.
dude, I don't know. I think like once it starts getting dark, man, like I think after like once it starts getting dark, like if I'm close, I'm close. Um, I don't know. Like I do want to do this for some sort of like cause. I think that we can chat like
Ooh.
offline about like Murph is like going through the wires, so I'm just kind of like making sure that he's not doing anything too crazy. Where you going,
Yeah.
buddy? Where you going? What you doing? But I do want to like I think that'd be really cool to like kind of raise funds or raise
Yeah.
awareness for something. Using this as kind of like the outlet for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'd love to do that. Obviously if it's like 5:30 p.m. the sun starts going down and I'm like, only a little bit away, I'm gonna keep going because we start at
Yeah.
8 a.m.
Yeah.
They cut you off at like midnight. They give you
Yeah.
a full on that's 12 plus that's 16 hours to do
Mm-hmm.
this. Right. Yeah. They give me full 16 hours to do this. So it's like, can I travel 31 miles on foot in 16 hours? That is probably if I walk 3 miles an hour, like,
The elevation is obviously going to be a big
yeah,
thing.
and that's
And
consistent. That's no stopping.
that is, yep. I mean, and you're just in what that's going to be on that day. Again, depending on, we got 3 months to train for it and like what your training looks like leading up to it. But if you were to just go right now,
Yeah.
then I think it's a lot more of, what is that kind of dark place you're willing to go to mentally to
Yeah.
just endure it and
Yeah.
just be like, okay, I just can keep moving, just one
Right.
step, one step, one step, and fuel up at every single station. Like you have built up the physical capacity, I would say, to provide enough of a buffer that if you really just wanted to grind it out and just suffer through it, like you physically could do
Right.
it. I believe.
I could run like I'm thinking like it's 31 miles. I could probably jog a third of that. I could probably do 10 miles of a jog. Not like maybe not
Agreed.
straight,
Agreed.
but like over the course of that 30, I could probably jog 10 miles of it. However, like you said, it's going to depending on the elevation. Like maybe
Yeah.
like I straight away as I jog, maybe like hills I start
Oh
climbing,
yeah.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking your heart rate gets rough on those hills, man.
Yeah.
I did that yesterday because I was trying to get to the top of this hill to avoid the bugs.
Mm.
So I was pretty much sprinting up this hill.
Oh, you're doing that? Oh, that's
Yeah.
rough.
But it was worth it for the top. But yeah, so I mean, like I don't know. I want to get as far as I can. I am not above just getting to a parking lot of a one of the like along the route. I tried to look at the route up today. I couldn't really figure it out. It's like maybe I got it was on my phone. Like I got to do it on the computer. But I'm not above like just calling someone, Meg, calling my girlfriend. She's going to be on the hook for this one to come pick me up probably.
Nah, you're gonna
if
finish.
things get bad. But yeah, I think I'll finish. It's just going to be, it's going to definitely take me into the evening hours, and I'm not like worried about it, but it is like I'm going to have to just prepare for that better.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have like a flashlight, like a headlamp. I'm probably going to have like, dude, I don't know. Should I get like a fucking? I'm trying to think of like, I don't know if I'm like alone out there. I'm like bears, like I don't know. I'm like kind of like a little bit like, okay, well, like what is now? It's like, well, is there something the environmental have to contend with, or like something like animals? Like should I bring like a torch? You know what I mean? Like I should have
prepared.
Should I bring like? Well, I probably should have some sort of like bear spray, to be honest.
I wonder, depending on what time sun will start setting there.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine, yeah, you might be finishing up when it starts getting a little dark, but I can't imagine you'd be out there until midnight is the cutoff. I'd have to go
16
back and
hours again. Like I think like
all right, so you could be out there like fairly late at night.
yeah, because if I walked at a 3 mile an hour clip, if I walked at a 3 miles an hour the entire time, no breaks, nothing, and like. And that's also maintaining it with elevation, which is going to be challenging.
Yeah.
But that's 10 hours right there.
That's 10 hours.
So if I jog a third of it, I mean, that's, I don't know. What's 3 miles an hour? It's like a 20, you know, yeah, it's, I don't know. It's like a, I don't know. It's fine.
Do the calculation.
No, it's a 20-minute mile.
No.
But yeah.
I think there was a quote that I just saw or just read that was pertaining to like strength training and like heavy strength training, getting underneath a barbell or going to pick up a really heavy deadlift or snatch, clean and jerk. That teaches you about fear and how to work with fear. And endurance training, like long runs and bikes and long rows, whatever that might be, that teaches you about pain and fighting through pain. And I think that's what this is really going to be like gearing up for. Like you do like I've done a lot of like the weightlifting stuff, so this will be your first venture going down that road that long.
Sure.
Right? Because what's the longest that you've done before this?
Like, are you talking about jogging or hiking straight?
Yeah, both.
Like, I mean,
like I've done
effort. I've done. I mean, but this is years ago now. I've done like 8 to 10 miles total of running at one time. This was back when I was probably like in my early 20s and was just more doing that more often. Hiking wise, probably around that same distance, like 8 to 10. Like I've spent like a full day, not like a full day, like a full afternoon hiking before. But what I could start doing is just like actually tracking these distances and like trying to go further and further in hiking. Because like if I can do like an 11-mile hike in a day, well then, stands to reason I could probably just push myself a little bit further, add the jogging in, and then pretty much I'm that 31.
Yeah.
I know it's easy for me to say that. I know people are like, that doesn't math. The math is not mathing. But for me, the math is mathing because like, I don't know. Also at the same time, if you have, I mean, I also am someone who like, if I have an end goal, like I'm going to get there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. What am I going to do? Fucking sit down in the middle of the trail and not move? Like, no, you have to keep moving.
Well, and at least the win already right there is like, it's like, I just need to show up and then I'm going to be able to get it done. I'm wondering out of all the number of people that I know that has signed up for this right now, and I want to say that number is probably about 30. My guess is that on race day, when I look around at everyone that's there, out of that group of 30, I'm thinking we'll have maybe around 10 to 15. That's my guess right now, because I feel a lot of people, they might have like signed up for it just like you did. Like, oh yeah, wait, kind of Corey talked me into it. Cause I got like 30 some people to sign up for this thing. And I'm very curious,
how many people did you get signed up via threat of physical violence?
Is that allowed on air? Is that allowed on?
Three,
No.
four, yeah.
The numbers just continue to rise,
Yeah.
story after story. It's like a fishing story. No, but I got like a good 30 some odd people to be able to sign up for this thing, which I think initially everyone gets excited, like, "Ooh, can I actually, commit to this undertaking?" And I'm willing to put in like the work, knowing what is coming ahead. And now that we're about 3 months out from now, I'm wondering how many people are thinking about that in the back of their minds, like, "Oh yeah, wait, like, have they already given themselves the out? Are they just like mentally just like, nah, nope, okay, I'm not going to go to that? You know, like it sucks.
Yeah.
What? Like, I can imagine like being in that position, like, oh, I didn't train for that. Like, why didn't I? Like, what would you potentially be missing out on?
Well, and
That experience.
the thing is, like, I think there's a difference between signing up for like a long distance, strictly running event. Let's say you sign up for like a half marathon or a marathon, right? And it's like, it's all on roads,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. And signing up for something like this, I think there is a difference because, like, well, worst comes to fucking worst, you signed up for a 10-mile hike. And once you hit 10 miles, you can be like, okay, cool. I didn't train for this. Like, I'm feeling pretty tired at this point. Like, I've had my nature time. It's time to go home. Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of how I felt, was like, I can't do that in a marathon. Like, if I sign up for a marathon and, like, let's say I sign up for grandma's, in Duluth, and I'm like, well, I'm running on the road. Like, what am I going to do? Like, oh, wow, this is beautiful. Like, after 10 miles, like, you know what I mean? Like, that would be, for me, easier to just not do it if I didn't sign up for it. Versus this, it's like, well, either way, even if I go 5 miles, it's still, I'm going this beautiful trail along Jay Cook State Park. Like, I'm, and like beyond, I'm still getting out and enjoying it. I don't need it to be this thing where it's like, oh shit, like if I can't do the full thing, I can't do it at all. Like, I don't know if it's prescribed or prescribed. I'm using probably the wrong thing. Like, what is the phrase for that? Anyways, but I've just never felt that was like the case where, oh, if I can't complete 31 miles for this trail run, I shouldn't do it. Like, fuck no, I'm still going to get a weekend off. I'm still going to go as far as I can on this trail and have a good time and enjoy my time out there.
So would that also then just be the equivalent of somebody signing up for a marathon on that day, knowing that they didn't really train for it? And they're just gonna be like, oh, let's just see how far I can go today. And then they'll just walk off
Well,
after,
if someone does that, but I just don't think, I like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people do that. But in my mind, it was like, this is easier to do that because it's like, I guess, people, I guess, just walk for fun. But I think, when you don't have as much to, like, well, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm like, as much to look at. Like, for me, it was like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like,
you're being in.
would I would I take the same approach to like signing up for like a marathon, like the Twin Cities? Like, probably not, because like I can walk around without signing up for the marathon, right? But for this, I guess I could do that still, but this is kind of an added bonus to it, right? Where it's like, cool, how far can I go? And also the trail isn't something that I would normally do.
Yeah.
I've never been on this route.
So that's a very optimistic way to kind of take it, where, all right, if I was to do Twin Cities marathon, like something in the city, something that you're more accustomed to viewing on a regular basis, that if you were to bow out of that one early, that would be the worst case scenario versus the Duluth one. Even if there's an inkling that you think that you might not be able to finish it, in your mind, you're like, well, I'm not up in Duluth all that often. It's still going to be a beautiful trail. And if I decide not to finish it, like, it'll be okay, but I will still enjoy it a lot more than just having walked or ran or combination of both, like 8 to 12 miles in the inner city.
Yeah, I've still done a hell of a hike.
So it's like the floor is lower. Like the basement level would be the Twin Cities type of marathon that you bow out of. This floor is a little bit higher up in Duluth.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's just how I'm viewing it. So.
I mean, it's a very optimistic way to view it. I mean, and however you want to like approach it, I feel like I wonder the number of people that will show up knowing that they're not prepared and then are just like gonna kind of do the same thing. Like, I guess we'll see, and then just whatever the results might be at the end of the day and kind of how the chips land. Like that's going into it. Like, because we're gonna have all sorts of different approaches to this, and it'll be interesting to see how it all ends up shaking out come October.
I'm gonna line up at the back because I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be, I mean, like I might like jog to start it again. Like I'm looking for those easier places to jog
Yeah.
versus like just trying to do all of it. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
it'll be fun.
You
No,
know, and for this run too, like having training partners and other people within this group to like help push, that has been a major help. Like Caleb,
sure.
I mean, just is crushing his amount of like volume that he's getting. Like he's done some days where he's gone out for could be like a 15-mile run. And then the very next day goes out again for like another 10. I'm like, dang, you're doing those big back to
Yeah.
backs. And it's been impressive to kind of having a training partner almost in that way, like someone you can kind of combat and stack up against a little bit, has been really good.
Well, that's something too that for you and Caleb, I feel like that's a little bit different because like, you know, Caleb's not going to come into your CrossFit gym and outlift you, but like having someone that having a roommate that can like no fucking shade at Caleb, like he's
No.
just not like, yeah, like he's, you know, you're a strong dude. He is too, but just not to that level.
Yeah.
Or not in those same categories, right?
Yeah.
Again, I
He's
want
a
to make,
phenomenal runner.
yeah,
Phenomenal runner.
and I want to make sure that like, you know, if we're thinking of like strength and fitness, we're thinking of like a very, you know, a generalized approach or a very like, you know, broad approach, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, him being your roommate and him being able to then like kind of go toe for toe
Yeah.
in that running capacity, that is always a fun thing. And as you being a
Hmm.
competitive person, it's less about like trying to beat him and more about like, okay, let me see if I can match kind of what you're like,
Yeah.
you know, let's see kind of, okay, well, if you're doing it, well, fuck, then I should do it too. You know what I mean? I
Yep.
think you use that as motivation for yourself.
And I think that's something, especially for like this training run or whatever area that you are pursuing right now when it comes to like your health and fitness, having training partners and surrounding yourself with like-minded people that all have the same goals can be so incredibly important, whether it's family, friends, your boyfriend, girlfriend, your partner. If it's the gym community as to why you got into that, and going at consistent class times, it's just such a powerful tool that you can rely upon rather than just sitting in your own headspace day in and day out. Like having that person that you can stack up and who truly pushes you uh, in your workouts and in your training.
Refer back to our previous episode 27, 5 tips for happy and healthy lifestyle, where we
Mm-hmm.
talk about the importance of a community
Yeah.
that
Mm-hmm.
you engage with in terms of your health and wellness. So
I think another aspect of this training that a lot of people would benefit from, and for anybody that's just getting into running in general, when it comes to their pace and trying to find like what's an identifiable, time frame that I can move in that's going to be sustainable, especially as you want to get into some longer efforts. I just did this my last 2 runs prior to today, and it was solely nasal breathing. So just breathing through your nose so that you have to bring your heart rate back down and keep a pace that's going to be relatively speaking 60 to 70% effort, something that's going to be a pace that you can endure for a longer period of time. And then once you do that for, let's say, a half mile to the first mile, just nasal breathing only, like take a look down at your watch or whatever you're using to pace out your run, and then just try to like sustain that effort. And I think you'd have a lot more success. I think a lot of people come out way too hot and don't have an understanding of what a pace is that they can truly sustain.
So, I mean, I guess what I'm kind of hearing from you is that one of the benefits of nasal breathing is more of a self-regulation and
Yeah.
more of a making sure that you're not overexerting yourself too early, right? Because,
Mm-hmm.
so would you say that kind of one of the benefits? Would you say there's like more to it than that, or kind of what is?
I'd say that's definitely
Yeah,
one of the benefits
yeah.
is like you get immediate feedback. A lot of times you'll be going to like track your run or whatever on your Apple Watch, and then you'll be down, and then you're just all of a sudden getting into the new music. You're, listening to a podcast, whatever, and you're feeling good. Maybe you're a little bit nervous and you don't run a whole lot, and then you see other people are around you. So you inherently pick up your pace because you feel as though you should be running faster for whatever reason. And then it's not a sustainable effort. So yeah, the nasal breathing gives you that immediate feedback. Like the moment you start to breathe through your mouth, which you're going to want to because it's not comfortable to just solely nasal breathe, then you're going to be like, oh, okay, I need to throttle it down. Like if I can only breathe and you stay disciplined with it, it forces you to slow it down. And then it becomes very meditative, and like finding a rhythm and a pattern with your footfall, I think also helps in developing your cadence. So it's like pop, pop, breathe, would definitely help. So there's that aspect to it, that self-regulation, as you said. Then also just the natural physiological adaptation that you're getting, like you're actually sustaining a lower heart rate intensity that is then ultimately sustainable. But yeah, so if you're getting into running, that's a great thing to,
Sure.
just incorporate, and just as like a fun little, exercise to do. Not that you have to do it for the entirety of the run, but, just something to experiment for a half mile to a mile. Can you even do it? Like, prove to yourself that you can.
Yeah, no, that's something that like I didn't really dig too deep into the nasal breathing kind of stuff, but it's something that Danny Yeager, who owns CrossFit Kingfield over in South Minneapolis, which of
Yep.
course, yeah, you've been there a couple
Oh,
times
yeah.
for workouts like that. But
Love
that's
that
kind
spot.
of yeah, that was something that he would kind of incorporate into workout design, depending on the actual design for the programming, or if
Mm-hmm.
you were doing one-off clients, things like that too. So I always kind of was interested in doing a little more of that. But yeah, I found that it's very good for like self-regulation, for actually bringing your heart rate down and making sure that we're not overexerting too early.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's also just hella fucking challenging. And there are a lot of people
It
that
is.
I haven't done this myself. I'm not gonna like hop on this train. I mean, I could try it, but like I'm not gonna be like, oh, this is great. This is like the taping your mouth shut like during
Oh,
sleep.
yeah.
I don't know, for
The
some reason
mouth
it just
tape.
scares me. Like I'm just like, oh, okay, well I'm gonna die. Like
Well, we should probably also throw in like the little asterisks here with, if you have like a deviated septum, you broke your nose or some shit, and you actually have like a legitimate restriction in your airflow, like
yeah.
go get that fixed. Like Michaela works in ear, nose, and throat, and she will come back and share stories of clients or patients, I guess, that she has like worked with, gone through like their surgeries and procedures that had a nasal blockage or something like that. And then they'll come out afterwards a couple days later, they're like, oh my God, I feel like I have a brand new life.
Mm,
Like that impacting on their day to day. So it's like, yeah, if you got one of those things going on, go get that fixed and then come back and just see how much of a vast improvement that is in your just day to day lifestyle.
damn.
You ever busted your shit?
My nose.
Yeah.
Have I?
I feel like that's a
Never broken
it's
it.
more it's oddly enough more common than not. Like the number of people. I wonder what the
Yeah,
percentages of people that have cracked that up, or maybe don't even know.
it's just sticking out there. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it really is, but you never
No,
see it.
no, I have like busted my lip from falling a couple times.
Ooh, okay.
Um, Slipped on like ice, stuff like that too. Like
Yep.
I have a like a root canal in my tooth. That's why, like, I don't know. You might have noticed sometimes people have like it's like one of my teeth is like slightly discolored.
Oh yeah.
Um, that was from like just hitting my face into like the concrete when I
Oh
was young, not like on purpose, but
yeah.
like, and that was like then the tooth died and like they did like a
Yep.
root whatever, and they couldn't. Oh hi, but do you want to come up?
I had a weird one like that too. I had to do a root canal because my one tooth here, right off to the side, you can see it's chipped.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like inverted or some shit. So they had to go in and like do a root canal on that because there was one day where I went to go bite down and it was so painful I couldn't even chew anything. And then I was like, all right, I need to get this thing fixed. But yeah, dentist is not necessarily the most enjoyable visit, is it?
My gums are my gum. Well, the
Right.
last time I was there, they were like, yeah, like your teeth are pretty good. Like you're probably not gonna have any issues with those, but my gums are really bad.
Well, I feel like everyone's fucking when they're going in there and picking with just like really sharp shit. They make it seem like it's your fault that your super soft, sensitive gums, I don't know,
You got to
start to
floss, bro.
bleed.
I just started after Meg and I moved in. She's I mean like I don't want to perpetuate stereotypes from like heterosexual relationships,
Do it.
but like she is definitely behind some of my better habits that I've developed in the last like month and a half since
Such
like
as, ooh, do tell.
I'm just like making the even like making the bed, which I never did when I was at home.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
that's one of my
making the
go-tos.
bed. Well,
Yep.
and that's really nice for like starting your day
It
well.
is. Yep. Keep a
Making the
routine and a
bed
habit.
and then like
Yep.
flossing.
Mm,
So I never really flossed until recently, until like the last
you dirty dog.
3 weeks or so, three,
Mm.
4 weeks. So that's really been beneficial for me, I believe. They're just like, I know they're bleeding less, which just like you got to get over that first initial hump where it's like every time I was going to floss, my gums would bleed.
Yep.
And I still have I've got like a sore in the back of like right behind my tooth, my like furthest back tooth on my
Oh,
right
yeah.
hand side. I don't think it's my wisdom teeth.
Mm.
Right? Because it can't
Well, it
like they
depends if
push
you got
up.
them. Well, it depends if you got them removed or not. I had
I
those removed.
haven't,
Those
yeah.
suck. Oh, so then you might actually have your wisdom teeth. You
But
might.
like
If you never had a surgery on them, then yeah.
speaking,
Unless they just never grow in. But that
yeah,
part I don't know.
I don't know. So like it's either that or there's like just like a random sore back there. Let's give me some issues right now. But like there's usually every single week there's like something a little bit.
Well, I think right about now your jaw is done like developing, right? I think so. So I don't think you'd have to worry about that anymore. I mean,
I can't chisel my jaw anymore, Corey. That's
Mm.
not what it's okay.
Well, I mean, that's a different
Yeah,
aspect of it, but
that's a different aspect.
just get that really cut jawline. Yeah.
Yeah. What is one of the, oh man, okay. Well, I was going to ask you an interesting question. I was going to say, what is like an unhealthy kind of like beauty standard or like attractiveness standard that you feel like is really overrated? I guess I don't know. I was thinking of like a jawline, how like everybody's like, oh, you have this cut jawline, but I think like only people that give
Mm,
a shit about that are like dudes that are really really self conscious about that for some reason. I think there's a
mm.
lot of things that guys are self conscious of as far as like
Well,
their appearance that like only they care about. Like women don't actually give a shit, but they for whatever reason we're convinced they do.
I feel like the most like the easiest one that comes to mind, I guess, would be the uh, kind of muscular physique
Mm,
and the physical physique that you oftentimes associate for male standards. I guess
sure,
like that's
sure.
really the only one. It's never
The action
necessarily like
figure physique.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and then I think it would be, isn't it the exact same thing you would imagine then with women is like, the long, slender legs, like the big button boobs and toned. Like I feel like that's kind of
Yeah.
the stereotypes for both sexes that are, the I guess yeah, just kind of the
It was
standards.
interesting. Noel, I think his last name is Diesel or Dills. He's Noel Diesel. I don't know if his name is Diesel, but you know what I mean.
Oh,
It's
I already know exactly what
Diesel
you're
or
talking
whatever.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep.
he's like I think he's from South Africa, but he lives in like Texas, I believe.
I love his stuff.
Yeah, oh, big time bodybuilder, but
Yeah.
he's actually really interesting because he does a lot of posts about like men's mental health.
Yes. Yeah.
And he does some interesting videos, and this last one was like showing that you could even edit like
Oh,
video.
I know exactly which one that you're
Yeah,
talking
he
about.
was like he did the classic kind of like Arnold pose or step back, like the
Yep.
I think it's
Double
like
bicep.
front double by is what
Yep.
it's
Front
called.
double by, baby.
And he showed this video of him doing this pose, and then you like a second later you see it change to what the actual his actual body looks like.
Which, mind you, if you don't know who this gentleman is, he is jacked,
Yeah,
like
he's
very
very
large
muscular.
individual, very muscular, very also toned as well. Like doesn't have a lot of excess body fat, and so when the image first pops up, you don't necessarily, even for myself, but just
Yeah,
because I already know the guy's huge to begin with, but even at first glance, immediate, unless you really looked in, because I went back and watched it again, if you looked at it with a very fine tooth comb, which let's be honest, not everyone that's you're going through an Instagram or TikTok reel is doing. You just watch it and slide up and away.
mm-hmm.
But how easy it was to just completely shift your, even our, with a well trained eye for both working in health and fitness and what is actually sustainable and attainable for like physiques. I had to go back and watch that, and I could only look at, oh, there is a little bit of a warp there, like at his like shoulder, at the waist, that looks a little bit hazy there. And then once it bumps down, then you see his actual physique.
Yeah,
But I mean, yeah, it is kind of ridiculous how easy that is to bypass someone's eye, and then that's what gets perpetuated in the idea of like, oh, that's what I should look like, which I mean can kind of go both ways. I mean, you're
yeah,
saying like the standards, that's also what I would refer to as being a healthy, fit, individual.
yeah. And you look at like I think several years back there was kind of the idea of like the dad bod craze came out,
Yeah.
and I think that was
Like why?
less of like a change in like how we wanted to act, but and more of like a hey, this was a movement driven of being like, hey, we actually like don't give a shit that much. Like not in like a negative way, but I think it was a lot of it was perpetuated. Like people would say like, oh, why are these women doing this? Because I think it was like a lot of it was kind of shared it around by like by men and women, of course, both. But I think it was kind of like women saying like, yeah, we don't actually like need you guys to look like this, to look like these, you know, Arnold Schwarzeneggers and like the '80s action heroes. Because when
Mm-hmm.
I think of a stereotypical like expectation of a muscular male physique, I think of like '80s action heroes. You know what
100%.
I mean? We're
Yep.
roided up, all that shit. And I think like a lot of it was like people saying like, you know, men and women both. Again, I'm trying not to be too heteronormative here, but like, you know, people saying like, oh, we don't actually need you to look like these action stars. Like we don't actually give a shit. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like we care that you keep yourself healthy, but that can look different for everybody.
Yes.
And I think like, you know, and then I think the internet takes everything and runs with it too far,
Yeah.
right? But you know, you see you see, I think, there's so many different standards for both men and women. And I think, like, if you're a dude listening to this right now and you're thinking to yourself that you don't have the physique that you want, I think that's okay. Like, you can definitely be healthy in other ways, but then also like work towards what you want to look like.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a reminder that there's, like, there's so many other reasons to move your body and exercise besides just, a standard that you are told that you need to look like.
Yeah. Well, and I think when it comes to the idea of dad bod too, in my mind, when I think dad bod, I'm like, okay, you're a male in their, whatever, it could be late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and you're carrying around maybe an extra like 5, 10, 15 pounds. It's not outrageous. Like, you're still fit otherwise, but like you just got a little extra chub. Like, that to me would be a great aspiration for what I think dad bod should be thought of as. I wonder, where does it cut off where you're like, okay, it's just a dad bod. Like, he's very healthy otherwise, but he's just got, he enjoys maybe a couple extra cocktails on the weekend, and, he, has a few extra burgers or to go along with it or whatever. But it's just an extra 5, 10, ish some odd pounds, maybe 15, right? Body fat percent, let's say they're at like, I don't know, for a guy, you're at like 15 to 18%, somewhere in there. Because once you start getting down to like 10, 11, 12%, like now you're pretty darn cut.
Dude, you think, man, when I was at 10% back when I was in college, I still didn't have abs. I was like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
And yeah, it's going to depend for everybody, to a degree.
Remember that physiologically your body's different than everybody else's. Yes. You could be the exact same body fat percent as someone else and you'll look completely different than they will. Mm-hmm. Like, you'll have like similar
yeah, I'm talking generally, right?
But yeah. Mm-hmm. No, Jordan Syatt and Marcus Philly are two guys that
both also love their stuff.
Yeah,
love their content. Yep.
And Marcus Philly is a former competitive CrossFitter.
Yes.
Jordan Syatt, obviously, did jiu-jitsu for a while. Competitive powerlifter. That was
his first shtick, and then now gets into jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm. And they both have done videos about, like, roughly stating that, like, your six pack doesn't guarantee you happiness, and I think that's and I think people like know that, or they hear that in tangentially, and they think, okay, well, yeah, of course it doesn't, but then they still find themselves, or maybe this is just me sometimes too, like, find yourself kind of chasing that, even though it, like, the back of your brain, like, you still find yourself kind of caught in that wheel, and I think that's very normal. Mm-hmm. And it's also easy because, like, both Marcus Philly and Jordan Syatt are like very healthy individuals. They both have families, they both have kids. Marcus Philly is a little bit probably more of like a quote unquote like shredded guy, you'd think. Some of that could be, some of that, he obviously trains for a living.
Yeah.
Some of that is also probably genetic. He's going to look a certain way depending on,
very much so.
Like that too. And so I think it's easy to dismiss stuff like that when you see the person like, oh yeah, of course. Well, it's easy for them to say because they already look like this. But it's like, well, don't dismiss it just because it's coming from a source that, maybe it's because they've been there and done that. You know what I mean? And I just think it's an important note to have, especially when you're looking at like standards of beauty and standards of fitness. That it's going to look so different for everybody.
Yep.
And just because someone, looks a certain way in terms of like their health and wellness, that you're like, oh, it's easy for them to say because they're already cut or already shredded or whatever.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that the meaning has, or the message has any less meaning. It's still very important.
Mm-hmm.
So
like getting the six pack or getting that ideal physique in your mind that you want to achieve, like, yes, that is a great success to be able to do. Like, if you set out for a goal, like, I want to have a body fat percent low enough that I can visibly see my abs, like, and you went out and did it, like, that's awesome. But if you haven't worked on the other aspects of your mental, emotional health, then you're going to get there and then realize, like, all right, there's no gold at the end of this rainbow. And now I'm, stuck here with all the same inner demons and everything else that, you never necessarily addressed. And the body, like, yes, you're maybe physically healthier per se. I don't know. Who knows also what you did to even get there. Again, perfect example for my own personal health. Like, going back and looking at photos, you would look at those and be, oh, I was at my lowest body fat percent, like the most shredded I've ever been. But that was also when I was going right through my eating disorder. And now I'm a little bit not as shredded as what I was, but have a phenomenal relationship with food. My body feels healthy. But if you would compare the two physiques, they're vastly different. And have done much more work on the mental, emotional health as well. So now I can appreciate like where my body is at and what I want it to be able to do. And the looks coming as just more of a, you know, side effect of that,
Yeah.
you know?
You need to, I mean, you need to be able to feel yourself to be able to run 17 miles.
Oh yeah.
I think like it's when you're setting a goal, and this is for anybody who I mean, you might be setting goals the last part of summer, right? It's like, mid-July at this point, pretty much.
Yeah. Crazy.
And I know it's wild. So if you're setting goals, I think like, let's say you were setting a goal for a six pack, it's worth asking, or I would say probably imperative that you ask, why am I setting this goal?
Mm.
Because I think setting a goal for like a six pack, or setting a goal to like, be X% body fat, or to have my shoulders pop more, or whatever, like whatever your goal is, I think like if you set that with the intention, with like a pure intention, then it's makes sense. Like, cool, if you just want your shoulders to look better, because like make you feel better, then fucking go for it. If you want a six pack because you're like, I like the way this looks, you're like, I want to see if I can do it, I think that's a good intention. If you're setting that goal with the idea that it will bring you happiness, or that you will be happier after you've accomplished that, I think that's something to raise a red flag a little bit of like, well, that's not necessarily, I mean, like it's that kind of like yes and mentality, or that like grass is greener mentality, where it's like, I want to just achieve the next thing. And if you have that mentality, then it's tough to say that you're going to be content with what you have, and then that can drive you you know pretty nuts.
Yeah. Well, and then it also comes down to, you realize that that percent body fat that you want to get down to, or that maybe was like your initial goal, that is going to be very beneficial for a lot of reasons. Like being at a lower body fat percent is going to have better health outcomes and health markers than somebody who's carrying on extra weight. Again, you can look at study after study that's going to show that. So already there's going to be inherent benefit with cutting down there. But again, if you're not coming from a place mentally and emotionally where you're, feeling comfortable already, then yeah, it's not really going to surmount to much. And then you realize too that that initial goal is also, it's not just like a fixed point either. Like after you've achieved it, it's like, well, then what? Do you want to just like sustain and like be here now? Do you want to try to like work to get like bigger muscles? Because then yeah, we're gonna have to like put back on a pound. So it's never a end. Like this train keeps running. Like it's just day after day, like what you wanted to do. Like eventually I'm going to come to a point where I'm a little saggy. I've lost some muscle, like age is going to, come for us all at some point. So it's like, what do you want your body physically to be able to do and be capable of? Like hunting that down and searching for that on a daily basis. Like that's going to be the powerful thing when it just becomes like who you are and what you do. That's when, like you've really made it,
Yeah.
you know?
I agree. It's tough to say, like, it's easy to get caught in that trap, I think,
Yeah.
too. Because like you said, I mean, like being at a lower body fat percentage, and this is specific to that. Obviously, like your goals might be completely, you know, different
Yeah.
than physiological, which is fucking awesome. Have as many goals as you want, as
Mhm.
across as many dimensions as you'd like. Dimensions, I was trying to say domains and
Yeah, yeah,
dimensions,
yeah.
and I said dimensions. I like that one better. But like, lower body fat percentage is associated with a lower risk of all cause mortality.
Yeah.
However, it's also to a degree. Like, does that mean 12%, or does that mean like 8%? Like, it's probably not that low. You know what I mean? Like,
Now you're getting, if you're getting
yeah,
single digits, like, damn, all
yeah,
right,
like that'd be like if you're preparing for like some sort of like bodybuilding show. So keep that in mind too. Is it's all relative, and there's also like diminishing returns too. You know what I mean? Like, so I think it's important to note, especially when we think of like, standards of beauty, or body standards for both men and women. So
And then for some people who are already at let's say of just a healthy body fat percent to begin with, and whatever form that looks like on their frame and on their body, I mean, ask yourself before you even do set that goal, is like, okay, the amount of work that's going to be required for me to be able to, one, achieve and then also sustain that that low of a body fat percent, where you have the overall physique that you desire, which is generally that very cut, lean, potentially getting a little vascular look for both men and women. Um, is that going to be something that you want, knowing the detriment of maybe some of your mental, emotional, or social health? Like, because now you're maybe not going out to eat as much. It's a lot more meals in. You don't get to have the, you know, extra slice of birthday cake. You're just a little bit more dialed in. It's like, are you willing to make those necessary sacrifices? Like, is that actually going to be worth it
Yeah.
to you? You
Yeah.
know, and you're only ever going to be able to decide that. But like, yeah, the extra 5 to 10 pounds, like, are you actually going to be more happy and arguably more or less like just as healthy at a slightly higher body fat percent? Then cool, just stay right there. That's fine.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're not, then cool, just get to work.
And I think when I was younger, and I know Corey and I are in our 30s. You're 30, right now?
30. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're in our
Feels
30s
like it
now.
too.
There's so many people that have been listening to this who are in like their 40s, like, shut the fuck up,
Yeah.
guys.
They
But
got a lot of miles on these tires,
a
baby.
lot of miles. Training age is relatively high, right? So,
Yes.
but no, for me, I think like back when I was younger, I had a lot of issues with like, seeking affirmation from like the opposite sex, or seeking affirmation from women.
Oh yeah.
And I think part of being a young guy is trying to look a certain way and have certain muscles to get more attention from a partner.
100%.
And I think that's super normal. That's, across whatever like orientation you are. Like, it's from fucking everybody's trying to do that for their desired outcome, right? But let me tell you now, like, I think that any meaningful partner you have will care far more about, the way you listen, the way you communicate, how you interact with them, how you treat them, and how you treat their family and their friends, your desire to try, your desire to engage, like, learning their love language, doing stuff like that. Like, they're going to care so much more about that than your physical appearance now. And I think it's important to keep yourself in a healthy shape, because, like,
I was just about to say, like, but
no, yeah,
it also acceptable to be like, all right.
Well, I think physical chemistry, is very important too. Like, you want to feel attracted to your partner.
Oh, yeah.
You want your partner to feel attracted to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being able to do certain things physically is, like, very attractive. Like, you want to be able to showcase or taking care of yourself. I think that's a big thing. It's like, you and your partner want to know that, like, you guys are taking care of yourselves and as well as each other. And so for doing no physical activity, or like very limited, and then engaging other habits and maybe not as healthy for like a stable greater body fat percentage, right? Then that's something to both look at. But that is part of the equation, right? It's not like you're going to do that and all of a sudden you have people flocking to you. Like, it's not, because I've been 9% body fat. I did not have girls like knocking down my door to come hang out and date me. Like, that's how it works.
I mean, I think what you bring up is, yes, a very valid point. Like, yeah, if you're finding your partner, there's so many more aspects to that relationship that are going to be inherently far more important and valuable than just what you physically look like. However,
it's still important.
It's still important. At the same time, you and your relationship will also greatly benefit if both of you are healthy and take care of yourselves, because then you're going to be able to enjoy all the activities that you enjoy doing together for a longer period of time, well into your 50s and 60s and 70s or 80s, versus if you are sedentary, overweight, and you don't take care of yourself, then you're cutting off years of your life and years with your partner that you could be spending, not to mention your extended family and kids and everything that goes along with it.
So you're also limiting the amount of things that you can do with that partner.
1000%. So if you and your partner are healthy and you both have that standard for one another, then live up to that, because then you're just going to be better off for your family, for your friends, for your work. I mean, just a healthier human being is going to be in my mind, very much happier in person with their extended, family and everybody else.
I think that's a good place to end it today, Corey. What do you think?
That was such a wholesome podcast.
It was good. It was good. One thing, there was a question I was going to ask you earlier on that I want to ask you now to end this.
Okay, super interesting one.
Ending question. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to check my text messages right now. It is Meg, just to make sure everything's good. Okay, she's been doing a lot of moving today, so she's moving. They're moving. Whatchamacallit? Not studios, moving clinics, or like their clinic is moving to a different place, a different building in the same like area, but they're just moving other shit. So she's helping move, plus also like directing them. Anyways, so question is, ending question.
Ooh.
What is this? Maybe not the scariest animal, but I was thinking of like snakes. You know what I mean? What is the animal that you're personally, maybe not the most frightened of, but like I don't know, when you wouldn't want to encounter in the wild? Just first thing that pops in your head.
Thing that I wouldn't want to encounter in the wild. I mean, considering I live in Minnesota, and the thing that I would probably run into most would be something like would be like a mountain lion or a rattlesnake. I mean, I think
Oh yeah, we got rattlesnakes here.
that's about
Oh
the
hell yeah,
only
yeah.
thing that I would think of that I would be nervous about being in Minnesota. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I would say like the one thing I would never want to come into contact with would be a fucking shark or something. But
Mm.
guess whose ass isn't getting in the water? Me. So I ain't got to worry about
Yeah.
it.
This motherfucker is not going anywhere near the ocean.
I'm fucking out. Unless I'll go in with a cage, or something like that.
I've
But like
always wanted to do cage diving.
cage diving, I would fucking do in a heartbeat. But I don't want to go out there on a surfboard and just be like, hey, guess who's on the menu, and all you got to do is swim to the top of the water, and my ass is just chilling out there.
Yeah.
No way.
There's
Mm-mm.
the thing about sharks for the most part is that they investigate things with their mouth. It's like
Yeah.
they do like an investigative bite when they don't know what it is.
It's almost like a dog comes up to you and
Yeah,
it's just like, oh god,
sniffs
on
or
your
like kind of yeah.
just mouths you a little bit.
The problem is that it's a shark.
You got a big ass mouth.
So if you are in the water and a great white decides to do an investigative bite on you, it's probably taking off a chunk of your torso and you're
Yeah.
probably going to bleed out.
Sure.
And that's the issue. It's just like it's not really actually eating you. There's some sharks that do that, but it's cool. Anyways, yeah, I would say for me, man, fucking bear. Even yesterday, obviously, I wasn't like thinking there was gonna be a bear in the woods. But like even like bears just terrify me because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like
Well,
it's you know,
well, they'll start eating your shit right away. They'll start gnawing
well,
and
it's like
taking
what do you do?
pieces out.
You have your spray,
If you're
you
lucky.
bear spray. Yeah,
If you're smart, I guess I should say no. If you're smart, you have it on you.
And you've got like I mean you're supposed to like make yourself look as big as possible and make a lot of
loud noise.
Yeah, because they don't like being surprised, right? So if
Yeah.
you're like coming around a corner hiking, you're supposed
Unless
to
that's
yell
some
out.
brown bear or grizzly bear, in which case, I don't know, good fucking luck.
Dude, they're just like
Maybe a black bear you could try to like intimidate or scare off, but a grizzly or some shit, that's gonna be You're
well, I think they still don't want to
to
like engage with
No.
you, but like
unless it's a mom and her cubs or something.
oh my god,
And
man!
fuck off.
I think I told the story of I've told a story on a podcast episode previously of being in Yellowstone and seeing a mama grizzly and her cub being about. I mean, they were several hundred yards away. They were not in any danger. We were not in any danger, I don't believe.
Yeah.
But just seeing that was kind of like a ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, I'm not over there. In that
Yeah.
kind of moment. And even from that far away, when you were zooming in on the camera, the cub was so cute.
Yeah.
Oh. Anyways,
I got a question for you.
Yeah. What's up?
Right, as a closing question, what is the worst injury you've seen in the gym?
In the gym? Oh god, this is
because I had a gnarly one on Wednesday.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Is it breaking HIPAA to talk about it, or is it your injury?
No, it's not mine. It's just a client's injury.
Oh,
I mean, I ain't got to use names or nothing.
Well, in the gym, man, I don't know. I haven't really seen too many things that bad. I have seen someone faint.
Okay.
So that was a little alarming. I've had someone like kind of like really. I've had someone rupture their Achilles.
Ooh.
And I felt very bad because I had essentially kind of told them not to do what they were trying to do.
Oh.
And then I was like, okay, we're going to do it this way. And then I felt like it was agreed upon that we were going to do it a different way. And then I turned back around and they were doing it the way they were doing it. And that's when it happened.
What'd they do?
It was like essentially a burpee. It was, going from a plank into a squat in quick succession.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And they didn't have the requisite like hip or ankle mobility to really get there, and they were more of a weight. And I saw some movement patterns. I was like, well, these don't really look very good. And so that's when I approached them and told them, hey, like, let's do it this way. And they're like, okay, cool. And then basically just taking out the movement essentially. And then they went back to the old way and
just popped.
Yeah, apparently I didn't see it happen, but it was kind of like, well, the next thing I know, they're, gone. And then I'm talking to them afterwards, and that's where it was.
Well, at least that one's not necessarily gruesome.
No,
that is like a horrible injury. Like the Achilles sucks, but it's not anything that you're looking over at like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, I haven't anything too aggressive. Yep. I've seen someone like hit their head with a barbell, like doing a snatch, which like give them big old welt on their head. But that was about it. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Oh God, I'm scared for what you're about to say.
You ready for this one?
No, but you're gonna say it anyway.
Yeah, I am. Ready for this? Buckle up. All right. So I was working with a client on Wednesday. We always start off like with 2 to 3 minutes on the rower. This is our general warm up. Mind you, she's a like 73-year-old woman. So well on in her years. This is her first venture on into exercise. Like she's just been training for like the last like 2 months or so. Not necessarily the most coordinated nor and self-proclaimed like, yeah, again, coordinated individual that you'll see. Fairly clumsy. And anyways, I walk into the room. She led the way. And I'm like, all right, let's just start 2-3 minutes on the rower like we always do. I go to turn to put my laptop and my coffee down on the box behind me. And I hear her stumble. And so as I'm setting it down, I glance back over my shoulder and she's kind of just like half kneeling, more or less, on the rower. Like one hand is kind of like on the seat, one leg off to the side, one shin right up alongside the railing, and just looked like she had kind of caught herself. I'm like, "Hey, you doing all right?" And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I told you, I'm just an absolute klutz." And I'm like, "Okay." And she proceeds to continue to sit herself back onto the rower seat. So I go to turn back around, go to set my coffee down again, and then I hear her say, "Oh no, I'm bleeding." Followed immediately there, right afterwards, with even a more like just unnerving tone of, "Oh, I can see bone." And that's when I was like, "Oh fuck, what is this?" So set it down immediately, like ran over to her. She's seated down on the rower and she's looking at her right leg, and you can see her sock, which was pulled up to about mid shin. I mean, it was initially white, and this thing is now completely red. And I'm like, "Oh fuck." So my guess is that she went to go step over the rower, her toe clipped, and then as the foot was coming down, her shin, bam, right into the side of the railing. I mean, you're talking a good, when I went over there and pulled her pant leg up and then rolled the tube sock down, like it was a good 5 to 6 inch gash right across her shin. I mean, talk about making a little in your stomach. That's when I first realized was I could not fucking do that line of work. That one twisted my stomach up a little bit. Like we proceeded to get another trainer, came up and then addressed it, lied her down on her back, elevated her foot, put it up on the rower, went to bandage and apply pressure, all that good stuff. And then I eventually ended up driving her over to the hospital that was just 10 minutes away, dropped her off, and I think got like 25, 26 stitches. She's fine. She handled it like a fucking champ. But just seeing that, when I rolled that down, I was like, whoa, and people do this on just a daily basis? Like, I'm good. I'm good.
Dear.
Yeah, that was the gnarliest one I've ever seen in the gym. That just happened earlier this week.
Well, I'm glad she's okay.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
I hope it's a quick recovery and
yes.
back in. Yeah.
Yeah, she'll be right back in this next week. I mean, that's how much of a trooper this lady is. She's awesome. Absolute just gem angel of a woman on this planet. Glad to know that she's going to be okay. But yeah, I for a second there was like, oh, all right. There was a lot of just you could see,
dude. Yeah, I won't get into that because no one's listed that, but cadaver labs and are interesting in when you go to school. Anyways, all right, guys, so that's going to be it for us from the Average Bros Gym podcast. You can give us a follow and a like and a subscribe just anywhere possible.
Leave a comment, your worst injury.
Leave a comment of your worst injury. That sounds amazing.
ACL here, yeah.
I've had an ACL tear. I've had a broken wrist. I had a avulsion fracture in my hip.
You're pacing me out right now.
Yeah, no,
not nearly that bad.
Good shit. But yeah, so follow us on Instagram at Average Bros Gym Podcast. You can email us as well, averagebrosgympodcast@gmail.com. You can also do some other stuff. Again, Patreon as well. Again, $5 a month get you some extra goodies that we'll put some more up in there pretty dang soon. And you can also help support the channel so Corey and I can keep doing this and petting Murph. Buy Murph some dog food, $5 a month.
Really? That's all it is?
Gets this guy. No, it's much more expensive than that.
Okay. He's a little guy, but
yeah. Nah, we get him the good shit. He's also allergic to chicken, so we had to go salmon route for this boy.
Oh,
I know, but he likes it.
Princess.
Oh, he is so cool. Yeah. Anyways, go follow us all there. Otherwise, y'all like the YouTube channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Every bit helps. We appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you again very soon to talk more about health, wellness, and other things. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.